Hi everyone, it's Steve here. I'm doing the commentary for episode 5, series 2, Nana's Party. And I'm going to press play now. And we've got the titles coming up and the BBC logo. And here we go, we're into the episode. So the car driving down the street here, driven by our wonderful paramedic, Christopher Whitlow. We wanted this to have a really dynamic opening, and obviously the idea is it's setting up some sense of foreboding and some sense of imminent danger, which we come back to at the end. But just to give you a bit of backstory on this episode, this is the very first thing we wrote when we talked about doing 6 different episodes inside No.9. This was the first script we wrote for series 1. We wrote this, then we wrote Tom and Jerry. And when we look back at this episode, I think the BBC thought, oh, you've got a sitcom there, you've got something which you could spin out into... I'm just going to turn the volume down. You know, you could do 6 episodes of that, and we would be happy to consider that as well as the Inside No.9 series. And me and Reece felt that this wasn't an episode 1, given that what happened in it was quite extreme. But because of that, it became a kind of odd one out in series 1. So we put it to one side, and we thought, let's leave it alone and forget about it. And then when series 2 came along, we got it out of the drawer, read it again, and we just found it really funny. It really made us laugh. But it did feel like it wasn't quite sitting in with the rest of the episodes. So that's when we added the whole paramedic sort of bookends at the beginning and the end. And the very fact it begins with a sense of impending danger. Someone's called an ambulance. You hear someone calling from inside, please, please, you've got to help us. It means that everything that now happens in this house is potentially dangerous. So it really helped going back to it after a couple of years or whatever it was, a few months, and just reconsidering how can we make it, give it that edge of danger. I mean, one of the things that really had inspired this episode was Reece was doing an Acheborn play in the West End. I can't remember what it was called now. Absent Friends, I think it was. And so we just really wanted to create, kind of Acheborn-y, Mike Leigh scenario, very domestic, a classic British kind of, family party that goes wrong. And I remember being in the shower, very clearly remember the moment of thinking, there's a box on a table, all wrapped up, and people are arriving at the party and going, oh, where's Maggie? Is Maggie not here? Well, it's her party. And you're thinking, oh my God, is it her head in the box? And then I was thinking, that's a little bit dark. So that's when the whole idea of hiding and make it into a practical joke, so that the head under the table, you're allowing someone to hear things that are happening in the room. And we just thought that was a very fertile idea for the type of thing we were trying to do. So, so we hit upon that idea of the practical joke and started writing. Now here we have Claire Skinner, who lives very close to Reece and myself in Muswell Hill. We'd seen her around in town, and you have that weird thing when you see another actor, like, you know who they are, and they probably know who you are, but because you've never actually met, you don't feel it's right to go up to them and go, hey, we are, we do the same job. So we'd seen her from afar, always thought she was a fantastic actress. And because we had this sort of, we've got a lot of the cast of Life is Sweet, of course. We'd had Jane Horrocks in the previous episode, and in episode 6 we had Alison Steadman. But anyway, we approached Claire, and weirdly, the very day after she'd agreed to do it, I bumped into her again in Muswell Hill, and I was able finally to speak to her and say, hello, you're going to be my wife. And she was brilliant playing this character of Angela. Again, when we came back to the script, we really upped this sense with Angela that she was borderline OCD and wanting everything to be completely spick and span, and it just gave the character an extra edge. in everything that was happening. So this is the sort of the setup of the. It's open. Sorry, it's open.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
What are you doing over here?
It's like I've been caught doing something.
What are you doing?
Well, I'm actually doing the Nana's Party commentary.
What? Do it now?
Yeah. Yeah, because I thought it's going to be off iPlayer, so unless I do it now...
You want me to do it with you?
No, I want you to do it with me.
Well, can you start doing it without me then?
Well, I just thought if we left it another day, it would be off iPlayer.
We weren't even...
Well, come and do it now. I'm not going to start again.
Tell me about that you started it. I didn't know. Am I meant to magically know that you?
Well, because I knew you'd be coming at some point today.
Why don't you just wait 5 more minutes and I'd have been here?
Because I didn't know when it's going to come off iPlayer.
All right, fine. Where is it up to?
Well, you can see where it's up to. You've just come in.
And you were going to...
I've not talked about you
finish it
yet.
and then say, oh, will you put it up on Twitter? Because I don't do Twitter.
Well, I've got my own followers now.
Yeah, I know. All right, well...
Right, go on, no. Just...
Claire Skinner.
I've just done Claire Skinner. I've talked about
Have you done her?
No.
Lorraine Ashbourne. Really good actress. I don't know what to say. I'm slightly put out by the fact that you started without me. I'm not in the mood for doing it, to be honest.
Well...
You carry on and I'll just listen.
All right.
It appears that he doesn't really
We,
commenting on it or not, does it?
I don't know what to say now.
No, I bet you don't.
We
We?
co-directed...
Oh yeah, because we did, didn't we? We didn't do the commentary, it's a shame.
Well, do you want me to pause it now?
No, just carry on. Fucking hell. Who cares anyway? I know fuckers listen to it.
Sorry. We co-directed this episode, Reece herself.
Have you not already said this? I'm sure you must have done.
Elsie Kelly there. Elsie, I knew very well from Benidorm, obviously. We didn't write it with her in mind, though, did we? Because
No.
we never write parts with people in mind, particularly.
Yeah, you've said all this last time. But yes, no, we couldn't. It was hard to find a woman, an old woman that was good enough for that part, wasn't it? It was actually quite a long process thinking of who could do that part.
Yeah.
There was a famous old woman that was asked to do it.
Well, Elsie's famous.
Yeah,
I don't think you should talk about things like that.
Oh, right, so
There's a
do
really...
you want me to comment on being a part of the commentary, or now on me actually be quiet?
Well, I want you to be part of the commentary, but I think it... Lorraine Ashbourne here is... This is one of the jokes that we... I've talked about how we just set it all up and we wrote it before we wrote all of Series 1, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But this was the sort of defining moment for her character, where we sort of hit upon what her character could be, potentially, is this... And
do you
she
think
went
people
for it.
think she's drinking... Initially, is actually drinking sun cream?
I don't think so. I think people will get that it's gin or vodka. I think people will get that. Although, your agent, wasn't it, who thought that...
You thought it was that horrific bit where he's drinking the sun cream. She. So yeah, look, there's me in the pink. It was not a deliberate thing that I was the pink of the cake, was it? That was just an accident.
It was a happy accident, and we made more of it later.
I understand.
But talk about the character.
I'm just drinking his coffee, which I only got one because I didn't know you were here.
Okay, well, I did say I'll probably be in today anyway.
Oh, you're trying to fucking turn it round and make it... Anyway, go on, yeah.
Should we abandon it, or should we carry on?
No, carry on. It's nearly halfway done, isn't it?
Okay.
For another 10 minutes.
Unbelievable. Okay, so we found this house. We saw lots of houses. Again, as I said, we co-directed this episode.
And we got on very well then, didn't we?
More or less. And we looked at lots and lots of houses, and we really wanted it to be open plan so we could move between the different rooms quite freely, and So that's what we achieved with this house. It was very, very close to Twickenham Studios, which it had to be. That was one of the prerequisites. And and I talked about the whole sort of setting up of the danger at the beginning of the episode.
Oh yes, with the
and
the cheat of the ambulance man being.
I haven't got into all that.
Yeah, I bet you haven't.
Do you want to do that?
No, it'll only make me angry.
Okay. We can see the hair there very clearly behind Elsie. We as directors were able to place that very, very much in shot. In fact, it gets very heavily featured here. Yeah. So, I don't know about for you, but for me, I think the character of Claire, Lorraine's character, is my favourite of the whole series. I loved writing for this character. Yeah. And the sort of...
Well, it was a tough... it was very enjoyable for us to write that character and read it out to ourselves, doing it as we imagined it done.
Yeah.
But we always thought, when we actually get an actress to do it, will they be able to go for it in the way that we went for it?
Yeah.
As men doing a part that we'd written for a woman, which is a very different thing.
Mm.
But she did, didn't she? Completely do it.
She did.
Above and beyond anything we could have imagined, in a way that we hoped it would be rendered, and it totally was.
This, we should say, was the last episode of the 6 that we filmed, so we were really shattered, weren't we, by the time we got round to this one. And was slightly dreading it because it was obviously a big directorial undertaking. We were in it all the way through, and the whole thing was resting on our shoulders. So for myself, I was quite dreading it. But when it came round, we had such fun during this week, if you can remember.
I don't really remember, but yeah, I think it was quite fun. Yeah, it was exhausting. I remember it being kind of like, oh God, there is literally now never a minute when you can't relax, because when we weren't doing it, we were behind the camera looking at it, and much more directing than Cole Comfort.
Yeah, because Cole Comfort
we had all those actors to juggle and talk with and explain things to.
So we staged it, and we should give great kudos here. We haven't really mentioned him to this point, but Stefan Persson, who is our director of photography, who also operates the camera, was our ally here very much, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
We would stage it. We would get the actors to say, this is how we want to stage it. We're thinking of this type of thing. And although my one contribution was lining you up behind that cake, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was good.
That was
No, it was. It was a matter of rehearsing it. And Adam said this, Tandy, the producer. He was impressed with how we, like a theatre play, had directed the action, so that then it was, that's half of it.
Yeah.
And thinking, right, well, if we want to achieve this, that ending when it gets all manic, it was all filmed and thought about so that it was captured in a way that was quite quick to capture.
Yeah.
I all one side of the room.
Well, we were all facing one direction. Yeah. That was very...
it seems like nothing now, but that we have to end up in those positions.
Yeah, because very often on a job, you get some directors who say, stand where you want and I'll follow you. And others are very, very precise with how, we took a balance, didn't we? I mean, we had a strong idea of how we wanted it to look.
Yeah, because some actors feel like instantly you get the hackles up by saying, can you end up here?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know, I might not.
I'll end up where I end up.
Yeah.
Yes, well, there are people who are difficult to work with.
Yeah, well, let's not talk about them.
So
I think it's appropriate to talk about them.
We put that shed, you can see in the back there, the deck house. Adam, our producer, said, I think if you use the word shed, you just know something awful is going to be happening in it. But so we called it the deck house, and they did have 2 sheds in that garden, but you couldn't see either of them. So we asked, this with our newfound power of being directors, we said, well, can we just buy a shed and put it there and paint it?
They did.
They did. Now, I like that cut between his head and her head. That's a nice...
Chopped and chopped.
Yeah. What about Eve Gordon? You want to say something nice about her?
Yeah, she was very, very good.
Can you dredge it out of yourself to say something nice about somebody?
Well, if it ever is appropriate, then yes.
Well,
she was quite good in this episode. Very natural.
She was. Yeah. She was from the Nottingham Theatre Workshop.
Was she?
And people who work with Shane Meadows very often grow out of that, and I think she had done something with Shane Meadows. And this bedroom I love Shane Meadows. This bedroom here is...
You won't listen to this, so you can fucking knock that on the head.
Well, I love him anyway. I don't, you know. This bedroom here was exactly pretty much as we walked into it, and there was a much more appropriate one, which was bigger. But we liked all this stuff. The girl who, obviously, whose bedroom it was, had created all this collage of stuff on her wall, and it just gave a really interesting background for this scene.
Yeah, I think there was loads of books in it. We could have... It's funny because there was a lot of books on one side, and it reminded me of the episode that you didn't want to do in this series of number 9, set in the library. Do you want to talk about that?
God. Yeah. Well, obviously we talk about lots of different ideas.
Yeah, and
not
some
every single.
Some of us go away and write a whole episode nearly, and other people come around and say, "Oh no, didn't think it worked," and ditch 3.5 weeks' work.
Yeah. Well, that's the process of writing. You know,
Right.
things
Yeah,
don't always gel or don't always fit.
In your opinion, no.
In my opinion, yes, they don't always fit the brief, and this was a very specific Inside No. 9.
Why can't you have number 9 in a library? Like what that episode
Yes, well,
was?
no, it could. Yeah, well, you know, in the future we might possibly do it
Right.
if it, you know,
When
could
you
be
deign to cast your eye over the script and make it better.
if it can be made to work. No, but
Anyway, look, never mind that.
Yeah,
Just talk about this episode. It's very good.
what a brilliant scene here, and
It was a
Lorraine,
good costume, wasn't it, from Eve?
really good costume, and is it fair to say that Lorraine took tiny mouthfuls of whiskey to have it on her breath? Literally, she just swilled it around her mouth and spat it out, just so she would stink of booze.
It's fair to say that, yeah.
Because it's true. And it did have a great effect, because whenever she came in, you could just smell her coming, couldn't you?
Yeah, I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
She was drinking.
So this, under the table,
There's
Claire...
me walk by in the background.
Yeah, well...
Do you know what's going on? I just wonder whether you think he's a little thief, like in King of Comedy when she steals the ashtray.
Yeah, I think, you know, because of the setup of the practical jokes, and the ice cubes is quite a common one. It was, yeah. I kept saying to you, keep chuckling, didn't I? Kept trying to...
Yeah, you were directing me, yeah.
To make it look like...
More
Because
like
otherwise
the prankster.
it did look slightly like you were a murderer or a thief.
Yes, so much you can't get away from that with this stage in the game.
Yeah. So we're about to have Jim's first secret come tumbling out, which is that his countdown sessions
It's a ruse.
are watching VHS.
And you've spotted that I sip up and get it, don't you?
Yeah, also that you walk out of here like C-3PO.
Well, yeah, that's the walk.
And I said to you, you're walking like a gay C-3PO. You just went, yeah, C-3PO. Which
There's a lot of humour with just people talking earnestly to a cake, which I hope doesn't pass people by. That kind of the seriousness of it all, and yet they're just kneeling down talking to a pink cake.
Yeah. Take us through your wig.
Yeah, tight
curls, Celtic curls.
Yeah, I'd never done a ginger hair before, and it meant I didn't quite mean the repercussions of having the red hair means a very different colour palette of the skin. So I was sprayed every day.
Pale.
Much paler, yeah.
Speaking of pale, that beer's very pale.
Yeah.
I think they didn't quite get the right one.
That shot when we walked toward the fridge and got a drink was the very last shot of the entire series, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the wrap.
That was the wrap.
And we had speeches, and you were given the clapperboard to keep. Have you still got it?
Somewhere upstairs, I think.
You put it on eBay. So we wanted, in the edit actually, we had a fantastic editor, Joe Randall Cutler, who did series 1 as well, and we worked very hard to keep reintroducing the cake all the time, looks over the shoulder, and it was something that you had to keep reminding yourself that someone was there listening to this, or you wanted the audience to think that someone was listening to this.
Otherwise it all counts for nothing really. You've got to have the idea that it's all being clocked. And this was fun. This was the start of the mission being put on, wasn't it? That scores the tragedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic piece of music. And I think we only put it in here because we had the line earlier on about don't play the mission. I don't want it to sound like a British Airways advert.
Yeah.
And because that had been set up, when it came to playing the music, we just put, okay, well, they're listening to the mission.
Yeah.
And but
have you said anything about you looking like Mr. Chow Mein?
No.
Right. Okay.
Do you want to say who Mr. Chow Mein is?
It's a Benny Hill character.
Okay.
You can look it up if you're confused.
So yeah, Lorraine here did wonderful work with a breadstick and a white dip.
Yes,
very
that
suggestive.
was placed, wasn't it? I remember early on when we knew we would be getting to it, that white dip being placed near her so that she had it to hand for this horrid moment.
Yeah. And I think even at this point, you're not sure that something has happened between them. That she
no, it could just be her being lascivious, and that really took my breath away. That cold water. I remember me and Lorraine really laughing about it because I literally went,
yes,
really made me gasp, like what it would be like. You know, you don't have it happen to you often, but it was shocking, really shocking.
Yeah.
You do start to feel Pat's tragedy.
Well, absolutely.
Thinking he's keeping it going with a happy face, but actually he's got a sad life. Difficult.
Yeah, but actually they have a more honest relationship in a way.
Yes.
He knows what she does. He knows exactly about the drinking and about the extramarital affair or affairs.
Yeah.
And he still wants to be with her.
Yeah.
Whereas Jim and Angela hide everything from each other.
Yeah. It's for good this episode.
I could barely do this scene without laughing.
Right?
There's whatever take is in without me laughing is the only take we've got because she was so funny.
Yeah. Really went for it, didn't she?
But
she kept saying, "There's so much in this. There's so much in this."
To mine, but look at the pathos she manages to get. I mean, I love this line here. Do you want to know what your sister's name was going to be? And then this here when she says, "I love you."
You mentioned that. Yeah, it's tragic. We left it hanging, didn't we, before the grandma came in?
Yeah, look at that. What poor Carol.
Have you mentioned that face on the cake?
There's
a sort of face in the cake created by two flowers and a bit of, you can see it for yourself.
Yeah, no, we very deliberately did that. And the whole notion of Maggie Elsie's character having this obsession with the iPad, we think she's playing a combination of Clash of Clans and Minecraft. So she's creating villages and killing pigs and...
Yeah, for anyone that cares to.
Well, I think those details matter, and that's why it was in. Anyway.
Well, they do, yeah. All right, what are you trying to say? I don't care about details.
Yeah, well, we did have a discussion about it.
Well, we discuss every single...
Well, when we do the library, then you can go through every book and decide what order...
Well, that was part of the story, so that would have had to do that, wouldn't we? If you'd have allowed it. Since you seem to be the arbiter of what fucking happens and what doesn't happen. And so, this is the point where it really is getting... There's a shot there missing, which we didn't quite get. One of the funniest lines we always thought in the whole thing, and we never filmed it.
Katie live!
Katie live! And it's not on her, it's on her back. Never mind. This is good. I whispered to her to really, when she smacks you in a minute, really smack you, but you don't flinch.
No.
I wanted it to really surprise you, but you went the other way and remained steely, and it's slightly not as good a performance. I thought I might shock you into her acting,
well,
but it didn't work.
It didn't work.
No.
I think there's something stoical about it.
Yes, there is. It's a choice.
Yeah, my choice.
You made a choice, and this is sad. It's properly fallen apart now. You feel sorry for her. She put makeup on only for Jim.
For Jim, and it's all run. I mean, the reason we said about the makeup running is we needed her in the bathroom to come back with the blackface soap.
Yes.
So I mean, the original script we wrote just ended with the knife going in the cake and the reveal that she had not been in the cake. Yeah. And in a way, Jim had got away with it.
He gets away with it, yeah. I mean, possibly more horrible.
But we decided to really up the chaos and the sense that any one of these people could be in an accident.
Yeah, since we've begun with that supposed ambulance man arriving at an emergency. That took a lot of goes, didn't it, to get that cake in.
Yes, we had 5 cakes. We were
The
able
knife
to
in the cake, I mean.
5 cakes.
Was it 5 cakes?
Yeah,
One
that's
went
all
on
we
eBay,
had.
didn't it?
Did it? Yes.
Another one.
So here we go. She wasn't under there. She'd nipped out, and then the time she'd nipped out was obviously when we were in the kitchen.
Yes, if you can believe that. You can believe it.
Those blinds at the back were used so that, obviously we were filming this in January, so it was getting dark very early, and we were filming till 7, so we needed sometimes, like there, to put them on a slant, like there in the background. That could well have been pitch black at the back there.
Yeah, and then this chaos ensuing. It's the ice. So Pat gets his hands wet by coming in sharing the ice, and that's why when he unplugs the phone, he,
I think, yeah,
in a comedic way, gets an electric shock. Yes, of
hopefully.
course, it's not believable.
No, hopefully
And it's
people
a
get
trope.
that. Yeah, well, as is the pie. I mean, you see him coming in with the pie, you immediately know it's going to go in his face. Although it isn't quite.
Not quite yet.
Seen.
I mean, that isn't. I continue juddering. I know it's the wrong thing to do. She's choking. It comes out there, like you can see it plop out.
Yeah, the spider comes out.
Yeah.
And so, again, in the script, it just said that the paramedic comes in and he presses play and he starts to do a dance. And we thought we'll fade out as he starts to do a dance, fade out on their bemused expressions. We had no idea it would become this.
Not 40-minute set piece.
But Christopher, I think you can see in the reflection of the picture there, you can see Stefan holding the camera.
Can you?
Yeah, in that picture on the right-hand side. Not in that shot, but the shot before. He's there moving around, yeah.
So he had it all worked out, didn't he? And each one represented something to do with medical.
Yes, well, he's got chest compressions at the beginning, then he's got the sort of
the
monitor.
Rippling is the monitor, the heart monitor, yeah. There she is watching.
All these different reactions were a joy to do. I think everyone had a nice time doing this.
All things considered.
I think there was, there was a really nice camaraderie between everyone, and it was, like I say, our last week, so we were shattered, but having Claire and Lorraine and Eve and Elsie, it was just a really nice. Now I've taken my tank top off because obviously I've spilt cake on it. I had 5 cakes in the face.
Was it 5?
Yeah.
To get that one shot.
Yeah. And the buffet, we had some prawns. The prawn ring we'd never changed, and by day 3,
the whole thing stank,
it completely stank. We had to get rid of it. It was walking into that room. The poor people whose house it was. Hopefully they weren't staying there overnight. I think they were.
But there was pieces of paper on the table saying "Do not touch" and "Do not change."
With that buffet, it was like
not that you would.
The cook, the thief, his wife, and her lover. They go into the thing of rotting
into the van.
Yeah. So you could
a very downbeat ending.
Downbeat.
And no twist.
No, and no one dies.
No.
It's the only episode where no one dies.
Which in itself you could say is a different.
Eve had to rush out and get those coats at the last minute because I said it should look like they're going out, not for a breath of fresh air, but out.
Leaving for an amount of time.
Yeah. And Elsie did this beautifully, this last line, because she just said, I just want it to have another different quality to it. Not that Maggie knows what's been going on.
Well, no, she supposedly doesn't.
But there is a wistfulness about it.
Yeah.
People could argue, why have they left her there?
Yeah, she got away with it.
And just in terms of that dialogue at the beginning then with the paramedic, is it a cheat? Yeah, the fact that he's in a car which has been adapted, we thought was like, that's what the company has done. They've made it look, to all intents and purposes, like this stripper is a paramedic. And so he pulls up in this vehicle. There's no flashing lights on it. We didn't do anything illegal. It was an adapted, bought off eBay, old paramedic's car.
Yeah.
And then what he's saying is, who's the person whose party it is, who phoned it in, i.e. who's done the booking, and then when they've said, it's an 80-year-old woman, he's saying, that doesn't sound too good. So we felt that we had cheated enough that you would enjoy the...
Well, look, if you didn't sit down and write these fucking things, who would? Somebody else.
Well, no one would.
No one would. Not the way we do them. Anyway,
I feel like we ought to do this one again.
what, with me at the beginning?
Well,
Yeah, and actually do it with me, you mean? Perhaps, I'll just put
I
it
don't
out.
want it to be episode 5, Nana's
Okay.
Party.